handpan teacher for a living, so I hope this doesn't backfire. Hello, my name is Amy Naylor. Thank you for being here. We're on the floor today because that's where my energy level is at. And I thought I would share with you 3 tips on how you can be your own handpan teacher. Diving right in then, number 1 is videoing yourself playing. Now, I know this can be a little bit nerve-wracking for some people, but the goal is not to create the perfect piece and film it and share it. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. But what I'm suggesting is filming yourself playing anything that you like so that you can actually watch back and watch what your body is doing, watch what your hands are doing, because often, especially for me personally, when I think I'm playing in a certain way, it's not actually the case at all. It's not what's happening at all. And so the reason why it's really great to have a teacher or a guide or a coach with you is so that somebody, you have a different set of eyes, can watch you and say, oh, you're doing that in this way, maybe try doing it in this way. But if you don't have that, then you can be your own set of eyes with the power of technology. So for an example, in this video that I posted recently, my piece Rush that I just came up with in a day and posted, you'll see that the way that I'm playing with my right hand in this middle section of the piece, I've got that repetitive motion going on and I get tired and I change the way I'm playing because my wrist and my fingers are exhausted. Now, the reason for that is because I wasn't getting the rotation that I need to make that action sustainable. What I was doing was playing with my fingers up and down like this, which involves so many muscles and tendons, and it gets really, really tiring very quickly. Now, I thought I was doing this, but then watching the video back, I realised that my technique was not up to scratch at all. And so that was really useful for me, and now I've been practicing that and can reach the end of that section without getting exhausted, which is good news. That same day, I recorded a video from a distance when I first came up with that groove. I just put my phone somewhere that was easy, and so you could see my whole body, and I noticed in that video that my back was really hunched over the pan because I play standing quite a lot, and my shoulders were rounded and I was leaning over the pan. Now, at the time I had no idea, but watching back I can see that that doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look like a good thing to be doing. And even though in the moment I was comfortable playing, if I'd been going for prolonged periods of time and if that became a bad habit, that wouldn't be good overall, because if you're hunching, you're taking up all this space, you haven't got much space to move, you're having to move your arms in unnatural ways, whereas now I can approach my pan, roll with my shoulders back, check in, make sure I'm nice and comfy, and play from a much more natural standpoint. So again, those 2 videos just in one day changed a lot in the way that I play, and that's kind of what inspired this video too. And so from watching those, I can see what it is that I want to improve on, and that takes me to tip number 2, which is setting yourself achievable goals. Now, the golden rule for this is to make sure that these goals are small and manageable, because otherwise it will seem like a distant thing that you're never going to be able to achieve. So, for instance, I might ask myself, what is it that I want to improve on? So I might want to improve on my split hand technique so I can get this nice rotation of my wrist so that I don't get tired. How am I going to measure whether or not I've achieved that? Well, I can measure that by recognizing whether I can get to the end of the middle section of my piece Rush without getting tired. How am I going to improve that? Well, I can practice this technique with both hands through playing scales like this, practicing that piece in Rush, practicing similar grooves but with the other hand, because you've got to make sure that both hands are doing the same thing. You want to strengthen both hands, and try lots of different ways to keep it interesting for myself to practice that. And then my final question to myself would be, when do I want to achieve that by? So for this, that's quite a small one. It might be in a week or 2 weeks time, and then I've got that deadline, or maybe before this particular performance or before I record this piece or whatever, and then that gives me a time frame, and that gives me, I can then take steps on how I'm going to achieve it before that time frame. So tip number 2 was setting achievable, manageable goals. 3 is creativity. So when you're practicing exercises or drills, finding new ways that you can practice them, whether that's somewhere else on the handpan or by changing it up just a little bit if it's starting to get easy for you. So these might be things that you learn from say online courses or strange girls on the internet. And in my videos I always try to offer you variations at the end so that you can keep doing it and keep it exciting, because otherwise you just, over time, you'll get bored and you'll want to stop practicing, and that's not the goal. Playing music should always be fun. So I encourage you, when you're finding ways to improve yourself, to be creative with the exercises that you use, and to experiment and to explore and to play. And that takes me on to my golden rule, which is not one of the 3 tips, but I think it's essential for everything. And that is, your playtime must be equal to or greater than your practice time. And by that I mean, if you spend 20 minutes practicing, spend 20 minutes just playing, at least, just letting yourself go, just exploring the handpan, and you'll find that by doing that, the things that you practice will naturally start to integrate into your playing, and that's what's really important. Also, by doing that, you're letting yourself play, which is exactly what you bought your handpan for, right? You just wanted to explore, you wanted to express yourself, you wanted to play music. You didn't want to sit practicing for hours every day, because that gets boring. Unless your practice time for you is enough and that feels playful and fun, then great, you've hit the jackpot there. You've managed to bring the 2 things together. That's perfect. But as a general rule, if you're spending time practicing scales, practicing rhythms, practicing techniques, always allow yourself playtime. And I think that's a very good golden rule for life in general. If you spend this much time working, you have to spend this much time just enjoying yourself. So yeah, I invite you to pick up your handpans and explore and create your own goals and be in charge of the process. And if you want any guidance, even though I've just told you you don't need a teacher, I do teach. But these things are very good for in between sessions, maybe if you're seeing somebody once every 2 weeks or whatever, or if you're going to a class or anything like that, and you want to make sure that you've got that routine, you've got that discipline, then these tips will be great for keeping you centered in your playing.